Hello, and welcome to Mangaroos. This is the podcast where we read volume 1 of a different manga series each week in Japanese, and then have the audacity to speak about it together in English.
Heavens!
As always, my name is Jason, and I'm joined this week by my good friends...
Sexy team manager Alex.
And Mark the Jolly Green Giant.
Yes, lovely. And we're here this week to talk about arguably the most popular volleyball manga around.
Yeah.
Haikyu by Haruichi Furudate. I think most people who have even a passing interest in manga will be very well aware of Haikyu. One of the most popular Shonen Jump mangas of the past 20 years. It's won all kinds of awards. It's topped all kinds of reader polls. Ran in the pages of Shonen Jump between 2012 and 2020. Several movie adaptations, several novelizations, a super popular TV show, a live stage production, and a radio drama.
Yeah,
the highest form of flattery.
Rolling in it.
He's doing okay for himself. Yeah. And here we are to discuss volume 1. So, without further ado, let me just volley the ball over the net into your side of the court. Alex, what did you think of Haikyu volley? Edit that out in post-production. What did you think about Haikyu volume 1?
Volume 1? Well, I mysteriously didn't have volume 1 on my shelf, but then I had volumes 2 to 12
so
on my shelf.
You didn't read volume 1?
So I guess I just skipped that one.
Whoops.
But I looked at the other ones, and I saw 2 and 3, etc. They say printed 2012, late 2012. Ooh. So I guess I was a pretty early adapter. I don't even remember what made me read it in the first place. But I was going to manga school at the time, so I guess that's how I was kind of in the know. Because
was it talked about even back then?
Whispered in the
yeah, when I was in manga school, I was going to school with these 19, 20-year-olds, Japanese 19, 20-year-olds.
Prime volleyball age.
Yeah, they know all the mangas, especially the Jump mangas. So people are talking about it, especially...
Wait, so we do have to clarify, though. Did you read volume 1?
Yeah, I did read it.
Oh, good,
sorry.
good.
I did read it.
This is going to be... I thought you were eluding the question.
Sorry. I was just I don't remember reading it. But then,
it was 11 years ago.
I did.
Non-essential. Start with volume 2.
But then when I read it, I was like, wait, I do kind of remember reading this. So it's just been a long time. I'm just highlighting how old I am.
And so you read the first 12 volumes, or so we can assume.
I can assume
based
that.
on your shelf. This series went 45 volumes, which is pretty long. Did you read the whole thing?
I didn't even make it. I guess I just after that I was like, this is too many volumes on my shelf. So, and then the anime had already been going at that point, and I was like, hey, the anime is pretty well done, so why don't I just watch the anime?
Didn't have a long shelf life.
sorry manga version. I kind of forsook you. I don't know.
I think you're probably not the only one. The anime is super popular.
It was really nice, opening up volume 1, coming back to my my homeboys in Karasuno Hi. They were a little family. So I don't know. I had that, they call them, apparently in English, it's the flightless crows. I looked it up.
Oh.
Because I was going to say the crows that don't fly, but I guess that's not a good localization. So, but anyway, they fly in my heart. So. Yeah, it's a nice, the volume 1, you don't get a lot of, you don't get other schools or anything, which is another draw of it. But you get to know the base and the characters in the beginning. So I think it's a good foundation.
Got to start somewhere, right? Even if you are a flightless crow. What did you think, Mark?
It was immensely better than I expected. I have spent the past decade purposely avoiding Haikyu and
Oh my god.
other sports manga like it. I was like, no way am I ever going to read this because...
Hipster Mark.
No, I've only got so much time and I wasn't going to spend it on Haikyu. But then, Jason, you made us read it and absolutely fell in love. It was so good. And it was all I could do to stop myself from going out and purchasing the next 11 volumes so I could have all 12 on my shelf. But here's one thing I picked up. There's a lot of tropes here.
Yep.
I think this is about a decade after Naruto came and shook up the Shonen Jump scene. To me, all I could see between Hinata and Kageyama was this clear Naruto Sasuke dichotomy.
And they even have the hair color.
The hair color and the hair is so similar. Like all you need to do is put like a little ninja headband on there, and basically it's the same character pairing. But yes. Apart from clearly rehashing some very popular Shonen Jump tropes, I thought it was really well done. I think what this mangaka really excels at is characterization, telling the story through his characters. The relationships are very, very real, very believable. And as someone who has never played volleyball in an organized setting, I felt like I could still feel the action. It made me want to get out there on the court. I was like, why have I never stood on a court and played volleyball and felt this love that is emanating
and now you
from
know
Shonen
from the
Jump.
manga that you can just join some mama groups.
Just join a I should join a
There
mama
must
group
be a
right
local
now.
mom volleyball team in your community.
There's got to
Every
be.
community has
It
one.
was all I could do to stop myself from jumping on my phone and trying to find one.
Well, this is a fun turn of events because this was my second time reading Haikyu as well. I'm glad that you both enjoyed it so much. I thought I enjoyed it. The first time I read
Tricked
Haikyu, I was
yourself.
like, pretty good. Not slam dunk, but it's not really fair to compare anything to slam dunk. So this was my second time reading Volume 1, and I don't know if I was just in a really nitpicky mood, but man, I don't know. We'll get into it.
I felt from
We'll get
your
in-
questions you might have been.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're right about the whole Naruto Sasuke vibe. I definitely picked up on that. At least Naruto had the decency to have like a single female character with some amount of agency, which I thought was admirable. Didn't see too much of that.
There was no
I don't
Sakura there.
expect I don't expect much from Jump. I gave up long ago
That's-
on
you're right.
Jump series with
You're right.
female
That's
characters.
more of a
so,
luxury
yeah.
than an expectation. Absolutely. I really do like the art style. I think it's extremely expressive. The action scenes in particular are just like, they've got this incredible sense of motion to them, right? And really good sneaker drawings. And if there's anything we know from Mangaroos, it's that I really have a
We
thing
should
about
have a
well-drawn
separate
sneakers.
rating, like the
Sneakeroos.
leaderboard of sneakers. Yeah, sneakers.
Yeah, this is right up there with Kore Kaite Shine in terms of like really good looking sneakers. Different style, a little more authentic. Kore Kaite Shine, very cartoonish sneakers, but hey.
more stylized.
I mean, I think we'll get into it a little more, but one of the issues I had with this first volume, and I got to be honest with you, I've only ever read the first volume. I've never read anything more than that. And I've really only read... I've
That's
really
all
only
you
watched,
needed.
like, I was like, okay, I get it. Much like volleyball itself, I feel like this manga is almost really, really great, but there's just something holding it back from being like, you know, a
man.
real sport that people want.
Volleyball fans out there, write in.
Please
Let
do.
Jason know if he's wrong.
Is it the fact that
Podcast at
volleyball?
gmail.com.
Is it the fact that volleyball, like this manga, only lasts for 31 minutes?
And volleyball, much like this manga, oh, no, never mind. I'm going to get canceled. There's a lot of reasons, I think. But one of the things that really stood out to me with this reread was Hinata is motivated to join the volleyball team, which doesn't even exist at his school, because he happens to be bicycling by a shop that has a TV in the window.
Bicycling,
Something
yeah.
that barely existed in 2012, by the way.
Yeah.
Here, local youths bicycling
Yeah.
across.
Hey, you don't
with-
know in Miyagi-Ken. I mean, it's a
Maybe that was a thing.
different- yeah,
Not
it's
everyone
different
had a
there.
television set in the home.
Yeah.
But the point is, he happens to catch a glimpse of a volleyball game, a sport he has no interest in.
Nor did he probably knew existed at that point.
But he's so
Well,
captivated by
okay,
this
I don't know. I have
flickering
some-
image in the screen of the in this shop. He stops his bicycle, stares at the television and says, "Hey, wait a second. This mysterious sport that's being played seems to be being played by someone small. I'm also small. This small person appears to be doing well at this sport I know nothing about.
Oh, it resonated.
Therefore,
with him.
I will, from this moment on, my entire life will be about this one sport." What I'm getting at is like,
I think you underestimate children. I don't know. I had a lot to say about this question, but anyway, go on.
no, please, because I want to hear the answer. I personally, I sat down and I tried to think of a more feeble reason in fiction for a protagonist to pursue their singular goal, and I'm hard pressed. So please help me. Can you think of a more feeble reason?
Okay. You know what? Like, when he was bicycling by that electronics store on that fateful day, he happened upon not just like any image of a small young person playing volleyball super well. It was an image of somebody in the town next to him playing volleyball really well.
Okay,
so,
that is a key
he could.
detail.
I feel
It's a key
like this
detail.
is key details.
Let's get the
because
Jimoto connection.
in the Jimoto, in the like super Japan, nothing else is going on. In the Inaka, like if the town next to you has that big of a star, you know a little bit about them. You
This is
don't know
fair.
nothing.
This is
Like,
true. This is true.
around that age group, and then also he's at his end of his elementary school years while he's bicycling by. And I feel like that's the time you're like, what am I going to do with myself?
Yep.
Because now I have
What am I going to do with my
agency.
life? Yep.
Like, no, I have
Big
agency.
decisions
Like,
to
that's
make.
like when I was 11 and I was starting up middle school, I was like, what am I going to do? What am I going to study? Like, outside of like normal school curriculum? Like, what am I going to pour my extra time into? Like, I actually was thinking about it. So,
Wow. Well, maybe I just was a real schmuck of a kid, because I feel like when I was 11 years old, I was like digging holes and burning GI Joes.
You
in the
could have been a
backyard.
hole digger.
Well, maybe I am. Check out my other podcast where I discuss the holes that I dig in the backyard. Okay, no, so that's a fair point. The whole the local celebrity kid angle.
yeah, local.
maybe-
It's local celebrity. Like
Still
you
not-
know about him. If
still not
Yuzuru
totally
Hanyu was like in the town next to you
You would know.
doing his skating
I
thing, I
guess,
think you
but-
would have heard a little bit about it, even if you were a little kid.
Okay, fair enough. Mark, what did you think? Am I way off base here?
Yeah, the question was, can you think of a more feeble reason in fiction for protagonists to pursue their goal? I said yes, but I have to think back to Adult Swim's Perfect Hair Forever and Gerald's quest to cure his premature baldness and replace it with luscious locks of hair. That was pretty ridiculous.
I don't know, man. Baldness strikes fear into the heart of a man.
Sure does, especially when he's only like 18. I don't actually remember if he was able to reach the end of his golden quest before the show was canceled. But yeah, no, I think this is not. I think it's kind of believable premise, especially for someone who is as young as Hinata is. So I'm gonna side with Alex on this one. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's pretty believable.
Interesting.
The one thing I want to say is a little bit unbelievable. Like, I don't know, as like small boys, did you think that at 11 or 10 you were at peak height?
No.
Absolutely not.
Like,
Never
nobody's
for a
under that
second.
impression. So that, I was like, why does Hinata think he's not going to grow taller? Is
Well,
it his like entire family is like small? or
I
something?
think it's this Furudate guy has a height thing. He's probably vertically challenged, and it comes through in every single character is dealing with some sort of height issues, and it's unhealthy. And if you feel this way, please don't talk to someone about it, because I think there's a lot you can do.
I mean, Mark, you're coming at this
support-
from a
there's support
privileged
out there.
position
From a privileged-
of being a taller person.
As a wing, as a spiker wing. Yes, I guess it's true. But
Yeah, we should let listeners know that Mark is a tall.
He's a tall.
literally a Jolly Green Giant.
People
When
in
he
real
was
life
10, he
always
probably
ask him.
knew he would tower over everyone.
I already
One day.
towered over
Actually,
everyone.
did you at
I
that
did.
age, Mark?
I was always tall.
Oh,
I was
wow.
born this way.
Came into the world tall, and I'll leave it tall.
So you're
Yeah.
more of a Tsukishima.
And more of a Kishima, definitely. I think I needed to work on my my athletic ability and the ability to control my body and all that. That came much later.
Now, we know that
when
you
I reached my
studiously
early
avoided.
30s.
You studiously avoided stepping onto the volleyball court. Did you do that intentionally because everyone was always asking you tall-related questions?
No. In my hometown, there was a war between basketball and volleyball for control of the gym, and basketball won.
And rightfully so.
You can only play one sport in the gym at a time during winter, and then it was basketball. So I was forced to play. Also, a sport that rewards those who are vertically gifted.
Amen. I gotta say though, I still don't feel, I don't know why, but for some reason I just absolutely do not buy Hinata's motivation.
You know what? When your child watches the
don't.
TV and sees like some like super kid athlete on TV
Yeah.
and goes like, "Dad, I want to be like that kid," you should shut up.
guess, but,
That's
like,
a terrible reason.
We
You
already
need to
know.
rethink your life. No, I'm gonna jump into Alex's corner on this because when I ask my son what he wants to be when he grows up, he always says without fail. If you ask him right now, he would say Shinkansen, and you can't be a Shinkansen. But I'm not gonna stop this guy from wanting to be a train. I mean, go for it if that's your dream.
Well, he is also 4 years old, right? I mean, my son also thinks he's going to grow up to be a race car, not a race car driver. Frankly, I would rather read that manga about the boy who becomes a race car.
Wow.
My issue is just Hinata. I'm not going to back down from this apparently, but Hinata already plays like several other sports. He's good at them.
He is.
Has he never seen a short baseball player before? Has he never seen a short soccer player? I don't know. I just think it's ridiculous.
Are there sports that you haven't? Oh, he could be a horse racer.
Or what's
A
it called? A
jockey.
gymnast or something.
Or a gymnast. You're right. There's a lot of other options out
I
there.
think
Play
it's his
to your
parents
strengths,
just didn't.
Hinata.
His parents clearly not involved in his life
Yeah,
at all.
not
They don't
involved
come
in his life.
in a single panel.
Okay, that's actually a perfect segue. I'm really glad you mentioned that. The biggest issue I had with Haikyu Volume 1, and maybe this gets better in later volumes, I'm not sure, but we know nothing about these people's lives outside of their 100% manic levels of commitment to volleyball. Who are these people as human beings?
It's been like
We
18
don't-
hours at school.
Yeah, like
It's
all
mostly
they
about the
think.
volleyball, though.
Mostly about
I mean,
volleyball.
Does that work in its favor? Did that bother either of you at all, or was it like I'm really into the volleyball action here? I don't even care.
It had
What
this.
else?
It had this disturbing afterglow of like the taikuke culture, which was really a huge issue, I think, in Japan.
yeah.
for-
Taikuke meaning, physical education
Yeah, like
type
the
sports.
teachers, like we've touched on this with Hoshi Sensei, that those teachers, they're with the kids until late. Sometimes I walk by, I have a middle school right next to my house, and I walk by, and sometimes the gym, I hear them, playing sports in the gym, and
Berating the children.
it's like 8:30 at night.
My
Like,
favorite example of that is I
Damn
also
it.
have that in my neighborhood. My favorite example is the baseball teams who you hear practicing, but they're I don't know if it's like a written rule or everyone just understands it, but every time anyone performs any kind of action, every single player on the team has to like verbally make some noise. So they'll all be like, hup, hup, and nobody sounds like they're having a good time.
What time
But
of the day is this?
All hours.
All hours. Wow.
Just constant baseball
morning
practice.
Yeah, just never-ending baseball.
They're
I
going to
think the-
Zenkoku.
I think
they
the
are.
players cycle in and out. It might be the same young men all the time. I'm not sure. The point is, yeah, exactly, Mark. The culture of like intense dedication to your sport of choice. It's about more than just having fun, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's about being dedicated to a cause, and I think it comes from a very particular period in Japanese history, which I don't think we'll delve into at this time because
yeah.
it's outside the bounds and it gets a
out of
little
bounds.
bit it's out of bounds.
The referee is calling
Red
it.
card.
Red card. But I
2-minute
think
penalty.
I think it's one of the things that really stood out to me when I would have conversations with my Japanese friends because in my foreign land where I am from, the sports that you would play would cycle through with the seasons. And in the fall you would do soccer, and in the winter it would be basketball, and in the spring comes baseball. But the thing that really stood out in Japan is that you just pick one, and you just do it forever.
Pledge allegiance to
You
it.
pledge allegiance.
And you do it whether it's fun or not because you're a member of the team. You've committed to these other people. I do sort of wonder if that contributed to Haikyuu's popularity inside Japan, right? Like everyone has this experience of being part of a team at their school everyone has that bukatsu, that
Yeah.
like school club.
Also, but it's not even
thing,
just
right?
like in the bukatsu. It's like I didn't, in my foreign land school when I was a kid, we did have choir, and we could do choir elective and like do it after school. But then when I experienced choir in Japan, it was like a whole nother level. Like they were doing they were doing competitions, like choir
Yeah.
competitions. Like those kids were dedicated. They cried when the competition was over, like they were gonna die. And I was like, what is happening? We just sang songs in the US and that was it. And we sang in an auditorium in front of our parents. And then our parents said, good job, and like treated us to dinner or something. And like that was it. In Japan, it's like it has to be a competition and there has to be like all these other schools doing it and you all need to cry and like act like we're dying at the end of the cycle.
That's how you grow. It's a different level of commitment, honestly. They ask more of you.
I do feel like that's very much reflected in Haikyu because like the smallest elements of the game of volleyball are taken with like life or death seriousness, right? Like,
Yeah.
this incredible tosser is willing to toss me the ball. And it's just like,
Tosser. Is that the term
yeah,
we want
that's
to
where
go
the
with?
original British slang term comes from. It's a derogatory word originating in the volleyball culture. We should mention, we're like 30 minutes into the episode. By the way, the word Haikyu, Japanese for volleyball.
Yeah, I learned that from this manga.
I didn't know
learned that
that.
from this manga.
I saw this country. I was like, whoa, that's
Yeah.
a really interesting choice. Like, because you have to get the ball out of the court.
But even then, the title of this manga is literally volleyball, double
literally
exclamation
volleyball.
point.
With
It's
exclamation marks
100%
there.
volleyball.
Double exclamation point. For
That
emphasis.
shows how hardcore volleyball it is, though. That's
It
why
is.
you don't get
Now-
family life scenes in the first
What-
one.
okay,
It's about
So-
a sport. Come on, it's a sport manga.
in our foreign land histories, we all have played volley. We've all been forced to play
Oh yeah,
volleyball
in physical education
education
class.
class.
Yeah,
physical
absolutely.
education, yeah.
But outside of that, what do you think about volleyball in general? And why isn't it like a more popular sport compared to, I'm talking about in terms of like spectators.
Because you
and,
can't
like,
do
big
it by.
revenue.
It's very obvious. Because one, you can't do it by yourself, and two.
Okay, well, I would argue that.
Got a lot of things you can't do.
Have you heard of this
Baseball
this sport
or-
called soccer? A lot of people seem to
Or
like
is
that
that
one.
No. I had a
Baseball.
good friend growing up, and you could drop him in a soccer field, and with a goal, and he would spend hours by himself just
Oh,
dribbling
okay,
and juggling, shooting. But with volleyball, like, what are you gonna do? Just like
You
keep
toss
throwing
you
it to
toss
yourself?
it to yourself.
Are you just gonna tosser yourself? Because that doesn't sound like a really good time.
at that tosser
Even
over
with
there.
basketball, like you can practice your free throws or whatnot. But like, even Hinata was begging his friends and the other Bukatsu to come and just like
That's a really
toss
good
the ball
point.
so I can inspire. And I think that is where volleyball suffers. Also, you need a net, which I mean I haven't seen too many volleyball nets just like waiting around in Japan or other countries that I've been for. You just come over.
Check out Miyashita Park because
Do they
there's
have
a
volleyball
volleyball
nets?
court on top of a mall.
On top of, they built a volleyball court on a mall?
Yeah, they
I
paved.
just envisioned. I don't know about you, but where I come from, there used to be basketball courts where the mesh in the basketball nets was replaced
Yeah,
with
yeah.
chains.
yeah.
And I just envisioned a chain
chain
like volleyball net, and it's pretty badass. It
Yeah,
might
that
make
could-
me like volleyball more.
I feel
cut
like
your
injuries
fingers.
would happen.
Yeah, but it's like volleyball extreme, you know.
Well, who invented volleyball anyway? Jason, this
Oh,
is your
Harold
pick.
Q.
Americans,
Volleyball
yeah.
in the year 1903.
1903?
Yeah, it was during Prohibition. People had nothing else to do.
Couldn't get
So-
drunk, so.
Someone found a peach basket, flattened it out, created a net using two poles, and gentlemen wearing top hats and sweaters would just sort of
Which is like
bounce.
a Knickerbocker thing?
Yeah, totally. I don't know. So every 4 years there's the Olympics, right? And every single time I watch some of the volleyball, and I'm like, for like 5 minutes, I'll be like, wait, is volleyball secretly awesome? Like, should I get into volleyball? And I should say, like, I'm a huge basketball fan. I love watching basketball. I also enjoy watching baseball, sometimes soccer. So I'm the kind of person who I enjoy sports. I used to play, and now I'm old and feeble, and so I just watch. But volleyball, I'm just like, I don't know. There just doesn't seem to be a lot to it. It looks kind of silly to me compared to some other sports. Am I being overly harsh? I don't know.
I think you're being a little bit harsh. I don't know. Well, I had a friend in college, and she was really into volleyball. She did the volleyball on the college team. And like they went around, fighting against other colleges, whatever
Fighting
you call
other
that,
colleges,
competing, competing with them,
Seeing who
And,
can
like,
stand on the
battles.
court the longest.
I don't know, like when they played, it looks really cool to me. And like I was like, wow, I wish I had some athletic ability when I saw that.
Yeah, volleyball
I
is
do
an
really
intensely
admire it, yeah.
athletic sport. It really
That's
is.
for sure.
And there are other sports out there, sports that you don't really know exist until you get to college. Like the university that I went to, I had a guy in my dorm suite who was on crew, which is like
I was in
yeah.
crew.
a
I was in
rate-
crew in high
Oh, did you do
school.
crew? I didn't even
But
know it
was like,
existed.
Yeah, 'cause so what is that?
killed
Remind
me. It killed me.
You row a boat. It's rowing a
You
boat.
row,
but
right,
you
right,
row
right,
boat,
right.
but you row boat
Yeah.
fast with other
yeah,
people.
you row a boat fast.
Fast as you
Yeah.
can.
And it
And,
uses your whole body because you have to row on these slidey seats, whatever.
But it's
The
never on
seats
TV.
Slide around.
So maybe some of the secret best sports aren't even on TV. Like handball
be.
is the most important or most played sport in the world.
Is that the one that
apparently.
the Aztecs played?
Probably. I mean, it's literally just hands and
Balls?
balls. Maybe we want to edit that one out.
Okay.
also.
Daichi Senpai!
Are there tossers in that game too?
Hey, listen, tossers turn up everywhere in life. There's no stopping them. So a couple of good things I learned from Haikyu in reading this first volume. One, they talked about like volleyball is always televised from the side. So you see the net in the middle and then the two teams on either side. But they talked about like in order to really appreciate it fully, you have to see it like from kind of behind.
Yeah.
Which
I
I've
feel
noticed
that.
also with basketball, it's always televised from the side, but every once in a while they'll cut to this different angle where it's like the camera's almost at like center court, and it does look a lot cooler. You get a much
does.
better view of the game. So like maybe that's why this manga helped popularize volleyball so much. Is it like it literally gave people different angles from which to view this sport. Yeah. And we should talk about like similar to the slam dunk effect. So slam dunk, one of the greatest manga of all time, hugely influential in popularizing basketball in Japan in the early 90s, right? Similarly, Haikyu took volleyball from being like this obscure sport that nobody really cared about very much in Japan. And suddenly, like, team enrollment at schools exploded. The V-League volleyball league in Japan took off. To this day, I think there's still like a tie-up collaboration between the V-League and Haikyu. So clearly something is happening here. Any thoughts on why this helped popularize volleyball so much?
So I have like kind of a sad like tangent that I went on when thinking about this question. Because
Take us-
you know this
take us
author
on your
is-
journey.
This author is from Iwate Prefecture in the north. And this author, like, they wanted to get in Jump, so they were starting to draw things, and they got their first realization was a horror manga. And then in 2011,
Yeah.
they released the one-shot Haikyu. And from there, then it got a serialization. And you know what else happened in 2011?
Of course, March 11th. It was just
Yeah.
a month ago.
Yeah.
So this is also set in Miyagi Prefecture, where the tsunami was not kind to that area at all. And I think that a lot of people in Japan were thinking, like, we want to do more to, like, uplift people in that area. And since this author was also from around there, he didn't set it in Iwate, he set it in Miyagi. And I think
wow.
it was because of that. I mean, I didn't find anything online saying that, but like I think that, you know, everyone kind of wanted a win for that area. So
That's actually kinda beautiful.
It's like it's very centered around like these young people, and I think that it was like even like just being in Japan, it was very sad, especially for the young people, because March 11th was a time of graduation ceremonies. And that day, actually, I was at a graduation ceremony, and then I went home and it happened. But I had a friend who was a teacher in Miyagi, and his school got completely, that area got destroyed.
Wow.
And yeah, he was living in the high school with the kids, and some of them lost their homes, they lost their friends, they lost family members, and they were just like completely like broken. And it was like, I don't know, it's just like even thinking about it, like I was in Gunma, I wasn't near the ocean, but just like hearing all the stories, it was just so heartbreaking. And every day it was like the aftershocks were like reminders of everything that was lost. So like I feel like this was like a ray of hope to like go towards the future, and also all these young people who've like experienced this like crazy loss to like concentrate on things like sports and things like where they could have a future, they could like try hard to do other things. Like I don't know, I think that was probably something that also helped propel its success, and probably the reason why Shueisha like let this one shot become a serialization. I don't know what went on, like I don't know the inner workings of Shueisha, but I feel like they probably did like that.
I mean, the manga eventually clearly resonated with a lot of people, but I think, one thing you mentioned is so important about sports in general. Just has the power to give people, so much meaning in their lives. It gives them something to focus on and to dream about, and you're capable of accomplishing such kind of like outsized emotional things in the arena of sports that you wouldn't otherwise get to do in life, right? Like that level of intense competition, that level of intense achievement. I think that's what motivates people to not only follow sports, but to play them, right? But like specifically volleyball, I just thought it was interesting that a manga had the power to, get people that interested in a particular sport. So
apparently it was just because the author really liked volleyball, though.
Yeah, and you definitely get that passion, right? Yeah. It's very clear on the page. I don't know, Mark, any thoughts about like how this manga sparked the volleyball revolution?
Yeah, no, I took this question in a very different direction. So I looked into what were the most popular manga in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just thinking back, and some of these I remembered, others I didn't. Prince of Tennis had been out already for a long time, and it was on its third season. People were sick of Tenipuri. They were ready for something new. And
interesting.
What came out after Prince of Tennis was Kuroko no Basket. I don't know if that ever reached any significant level of popularity outside of Japan, but in 2010, 2011, around this time, Kuroko no Basket was really, really popular. And then that had just kind of started to subside. And everything else in Shonen Jump at this time, this is like the really lean years. One Piece had been out forever. People were either in it or they had started to look for other things. Bleach had just finished Shudder, the Fullbringer arc, and it was a very dark time. They were just about ready to start the 1,000-Year Blood War, but they hadn't made it there yet. They had just lost a lot of fans, and I think Jump fans were looking for a new ray of hope. And then this hit at just a really good time when there was nothing else that was new. That was like the other thing, like the other top 10 manga for this year. You have, apart from the ones that we've already mentioned, you have Uchu Kyodai, Space Brothers, which is a very different take. You have
also still going strong.
You have Fairy Tail.
Fairy
Tail
which is good, and Silver Spoon, but those are all either from Kodansha or Shogakkan.
Yeah.
So it's a different maker. So
Shueisha didn't have the cash cow.
Exactly.
This was when like Bakuman was one of their big titles.
Bakuman was the only other one in this top 10 that, apart from the major giants that you already know of, that was big at the time, but maybe didn't have such a long tail. So I think Haikyu really came along at a really good time and filled an important hole for Shueisha.
Wow, when you put it in those terms, that's really stark. Wow, gosh, I didn't realize what a lean time it was for Shueisha at that time.
I'm sure they've had a lot of lean times, though. Like,
been around a long time.
Get over it.
These things come in peaks and valleys, but like obviously right now is an extremely, I think, good time in Shueisha's history. Obviously, lots of good Shonen Jump titles happening right now. I mention that just because, where I live in Yokohama, there's a Shonen Jump shop, right? Like one of those specialty shops. And what always surprises me about going in there is you think about all of the legendary Shonen Jump titles and all of the popular characters and series. You go into this shop, there's like a huge 6-foot tall replica stand of Trafalgar Law on one side, right? The guy from One Piece. And then the whole opposite wall is populated by huge cutouts of characters from Haikyu.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me, though.
Huh.
It surprises me. I didn't realize.
Okay.
Like,
so,
I knew it
I
was
think
popular, but I didn't know it was that
you need
popular.
to go back in time, okay?
Need a reality check.
You need to go back. You need a reality check.
Have I already
Do you
wrecked
know-
myself? Is
Yeah,
it not
yeah,
too?
yeah,
Is
you
it too late
wrecked
for me to check
yourself
myself?
because-
No, we're
Do you
gonna fix
know-
you.
Do you know who's buying this character merchandise?
Oh,
Women.
I know that Haikyu is extremely popular with young
Is it the
women.
Mama no
Yeah.
Oba-chan? Oh,
No, no,
that's
it's-
way up.
It's the women. Do you know?
Yeah,
Back
I know.
in the day,
I know.
Tsubasa.
Yeah.
In
Yeah, of course.
Misaki, they had a friendship, but then they had something beyond that friendship that a lot of women picked up on.
Go on.
And then
Tell
they
me.
started drawing little booklets elaborating
yes,
on the
of
special
course.
friendship between teammates. And that
It's
trend,
the banana fish syndrome.
yeah, it only intensified. And it's especially intense with Jump series.
And so, to what I'm very well aware of this phenomenon. Obviously, for some reason, I didn't consider it in relation to Haikyu. Very naive of me.
Yeah.
Is there any acknowledgement from Furudate-san about this fandom? Does this
I don't
ever get
know.
acknowledged in
I
the
should
pages
have
of
to
the real series?
Look that up. I don't know if any. Sometimes authors might put a bit of fan service out there with like little doodles and stuff like that, or like
Guy's a real tosser.
I didn't see it in volume 1.
yeah.
There's a
it's
lot of
not
fun
really
you could
much
have with tossers and spikers, and I'm sure there's other volleyball
Yeah.
terminology.
and
I gotta tell,
liberos.
honestly though, I'm glad you mentioned that because I think the moment that Haikyu really got on my radar was many years ago now, probably 7 or 8 years ago. I was walking to some event in Yokohama. I can't remember where I was going, but whatever I was going to coincided with some kind of Haikyu related event. And there were just hundreds and hundreds of 20-year-old women wearing backpacks with dozens of those little pin badges of Haikyu characters, wearing Haikyu uniforms.
They were out to get some cutouts.
Yeah, whatever they were doing, I was like, oh, this Haikyu thing is for real. People are into this.
And
But
they
a
have
very
much more
specific
purchasing
kind of
power
people.
than
They sure do.
than the kids in middle school.
Yeah, they do.
So it's really interesting because again, I guess many of them went through the whole bukatsu lifestyle. They went through the intensity of being on a school team, so they get that emotional resonance, and then also the extracurricular type of
I
way
mean,
of
not
enjoying
everyone
material.
is. Not everyone's into there's levels. It's like an iceberg. There's levels to this.
Speaking of the Titanic,
Yeah.
So
speaking of
obviously,
Titanic.
Haikyu kind of snowballed into this huge popular multimedia
franchise
thing.
Yeah.
But at what point did it become the thing that it's beloved for being? Is this a situation where the first volume is kind of a weird outlier and it doesn't really quite find its groove yet, or
I don't know.
do you
because
think that this is indicative of what the series is?
just because I picked it up in 2012, that enough people must have been talking about it. Because I'm usually
totally.
not that in the know. So
Okay.
people must have been talking about it. And then maybe it was not a lot of manga, not a lot of promising manga coming out. So
Okay,
I
so
don't
it
know,
came
the
along
anime
at the
is
right
really
time.
good. So I mean, the anime always, whenever an anime comes out, it's that
the
kind
anime
of
bump.
gets an anime bump. Yeah.
So one thing I found weird about this volume was for a sports manga, I don't know about you, but usually when I go into reading a sports manga, I don't expect to think very much. It's mostly just you're in it for the fun drawings, the moment-to-moment action. I was surprised by how weirdly wordy this volume is. I felt like every panel was just crammed full of as much words, as many words as possible. Was that just me? Did you feel that way at all?
No, not at all. I felt it was completely normal. I had a really bad experience with Ajin. I don't know if you've ever read that
I know I do.
manga, but
Yeah.
there's like
I haven't read it, but yeah.
6 words in each volume, and every time I buy another volume of Ajin, and I always buy it online too. I'm like,
It adds
why
to
did I pay money for that?
it added to the suspense. It was very theatrical.
It was very
See,
theatrical.
that's interesting. You place more value. You think more words equals getting your money's worth?
Yeah, and I feel that about music too. It's like I always look at the lyrics first, and then the music seeps in later. What I appreciated about the wordings here is, as someone who is a volleyball, a Haikyu neophyte, they really explained the rules to me. I didn't know that you could only touch 3 times. I didn't know about tossers and setters or whatnot. So I felt all of that was super useful information, especially for the first volume. If they're still talking about that 12 volumes in, then it would probably grate on my nerves a little bit, because I feel like I would already know about that. But I needed it for volume 1. I needed a little hand-holding.
What about you, Alex? What did you think? Was everything there on the page necessary? Did we need all those words?
So everything there on the page, so there are some pretty intense pages in that there are some pages that reach 9-10 panels, which
Yes,
is
yes.
highly irregular for a
Yes.
Jump manga, which is usually like 3 to 6 panels per page. Sometimes you can go a little bit higher, but there is like a lot of irregular paneling too. Like there's one page where the vice principal or principal, I don't know. one of them-
Kyoto Sensei, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, when he gets his toupee knocked out?
Yeah, I guess it's toupee manga. And there's a panel for everyone's face.
Page
And even a panel for the toupee.
79.
But that's
And
the
it's
One
all
Piece thing,
lined
right?
up.
That specifically. No, but you're getting at something really important, because that's exactly right. It's not necessarily that it's overly wordy. It's just that there are so many panels on every page, and every panel has lots of words in it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff happening in the panel. Not even just words. There's like people peeking out, or somebody's doing an action in the background of the panel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like it's actually drawn out, but the panel is the size of like a coin. Like I mean, like it's like a small.
And one of the small coins too,
It's
not
like
like
a
a
small
500
coin.
yen
It's
coin.
like a 5 yen, like a 1 yen.
In
Panel.
danger of being phased out. No, I get that. In volume 1, it's really like 4 stories in one. I thought it was just going to be all about that Chugak-san Nese no Shia at the beginning between Kitaichi and then whatever it was, Yukioka or something like that. But that ended really quick, and in the middle of that, like they did this flashback story where they tell the story of Hinata, who apparently doesn't have parents, but you learn a lot about him and his quest to get good at volleyball. And then they tell 2 more stories after he gets into high school. One that centers on the Kyoto Sensei's toupee, and the other that centers on the other amazingly good volleyball players who have just joined as what is it, freshmen, really sophomore, like first years in high school. That was a lot of story. And then they don't even finish the first match.
Yep, they don't even
in
finish
volume
that
1.
match.
They can't even bother to do
Yeah.
that after
can't
they fit
even
in all
join
those
the
other
club.
stories. Yeah. I was like, what happened? I know why you didn't buy volume 2, because you didn't know how many stories that you were going to get exposed to. And they just had to
I
leave
couldn't
you a
handle all
cliffhanger.
these stories at once. Yeah, it's weird for a manga that's this intensely focused on loving volleyball. There's like a surprisingly small amount of volleyball in this first volume, right? It's just
I
like
don't know, there is volleyball in there. It's
Oh,
just
talk
there's-
about volleyball.
I feel like also what it's overloaded on in the first volume compared to other series is the characters.
yeah.
Yeah, totally.
He introduces so many characters in such a short span that he even reintroduces them later by like putting name tags on them, and it's only been a couple pages and you're like, okay, have we already forgotten who these people are? I guess the author thinks we might have.
But the characters didn't feel really that different to me. Like obviously there's Hinata, there's Kageyama, there's
Yeah.
Naruto and
Sasuke.
Sasuke, but like apart from that, it's just like Sonota. There's just like everybody else. Like
Yeah.
nobody's personality really,
Oh, really?
struck me as
Okay.
being that interesting.
mean,
I don't know.
Daichi
The captain,
senpai?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like reliable, and he's
Yeah,
like,
I don't
pretty,
know.
like
He was like the Teban dude, yeah. And then you had like
dude.
the Tanaka guy who is a second year. Who was
And then
helping
you had
him
like
out.
the mom.
The mom for sure.
Yeah.
The Kinjo no Obasan Tachi. They really jumped out at me. And of
No,
course
the actual mom was
No,
Suga.
but I guess I just felt like you're inundated with a lot of stuff in this first
Yeah.
volume. There's a lot of panels, a lot of words, a lot of characters. It just felt a little bit cluttered to me. I came away from it feeling like, whew, that was a lot. I don't know. It was just it was a little overwhelming, I guess. But
Volume 1 syndrome. There's a lot of stories in there, and I think they were trying to pick out what is going to be like the main fare for everything after that.
yeah, but I don't know. Nothing really particularly grabbed me. So anyway, that's my reaction to Haikyu. You know, your mileage may vary. Clearly, I'm in the minority here. Obviously, a lot of
Well,
people.
you get a lot of story. Everyone out there who hasn't read Haikyu Volume 1, you get so much story.
Judging
It's
by
well
the,
worth
the,
it.
the mark
Well
metric
worth your
of
yen.
getting your money's worth. You're getting your money's worth here. There's a lot of words you can read in this book. Favorite single panel. What was your favorite, or page? What was the best illustration to you? What did you like the most?
Alex,
Mark, I know you prefer words, but if
yeah,
you could
no, I
just-
do. But I pick panels.
You could
'cause-
pick your favorite word as well. If you want to.
I too also mentioned the Kyoto Sensei wig panel on 78, 79 was really good. But there's another one that I think there's another page that I don't think gets enough love, and there are no page numbers around here. But it's the one where the coach in middle school comes over to tell Kageyama to cool it during the first game, and he's like, "Hayasa ni kodawari sugiru na yo," and then and then he's like, "Wakattemasu," and it's just like. It's just like shuts him up with this link, and then the coach looks like an angry turtle. Dude, you see that face? And like that's like his only line. Like,
Yeah, I like this one. I think he's a good face here.
yeah, Kageyama really puts this coach in his place, but I feel like this coach is a representation of what Kageyama will become if he continues down this path. Because he's got the same haircut, same little widow's peak going on. He's got the glasses, but I guess that comes with old age and diabetes. But yeah, no, I feel like this is a little bit of foreshadowing of for Kageyama what he could become.
What, you think he'll be grumpy, but then also on the side of teamwork?
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll miss out on becoming like a national volleyball team player, and I think that's what the coach understands and wants to impart that knowledge to him. But he's just too blinded by his own pride to see it. And
I have to
aren't we
say,
all
just-
on volume 1?
Amen. And in life, I just want to say before we continue discussing favorite panels, one thing that I think this manga does really nicely, and I actually really liked, was drawing a clear distinction between what is a teammate and one is a friend. You know, like
Yeah.
a lot of time that line kind of blurs in stories about sports, right? But here they make it very stark.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm not here because we're friends. In fact, I don't even like this guy very much. But in terms of being a teammate, awesome. So I actually really thought that was cool. But
It was a good
Alex,
dynamic.
what was your favorite
So I
illustration?
have it here for your viewing pleasure.
Oh yeah.
It's when Tsukishima is talking shit and ignoring Hinata, and he's tossing the ball, and he just
good
takes it up off the top of his head, like it's up in the air, and he's jumping up and getting it. I think it's a good panel because it shows like Hinata's been playing like second fiddle to Kageyama this entire time because everyone
his
is
life.
so. Yeah, all his life. Well, not really all his life, but I mean, like, he got defeated by him, and he got, like, I don't know. He wasn't a very, like, kind person to him when they met in middle school. And now he's kind of getting clumped in together with him, but also being forgotten because of that. So he's, like, it kind of showing that he's got some skills. And I think the panel's drawn very well.
Totally.
And it's a rare big panel, which I think is the thing that you felt lacking, Jason, is there's not enough big panels.
Just like for a sports manga that's all about the action, there's not. I don't feel like the art gets a chance to breathe very much, and when it does, it really stands out.
Yeah,
So
it's good
that's a
art.
really good example
so
of that.
it is
It's good
kind
art.
of sad. And then there's
Yeah.
another panel, like I'm picking two panels just because, but
Yeah, no,
is
absolutely.
when at the end when they're about to start the match, kind of like a practice match. Tanaka is saying that they'll destroy them, and then it's all three of them in a big panel together. And they're all kind of like doing their own thing in that panel. I don't know. It's a cute start to becoming a team So
Yeah, you start to see their personalities there a little bit, which
Mm-hmm.
is pretty neat, like in a non-verbal way, which
Yeah.
I think is cool.
yeah, I think that
So-
maybe they just needed like fewer words and more like big panels of just like this.
Yeah, just let it breathe, man. So obviously, like the obvious thing to go with is like all of the. There's some really great action shots. Like there's one early on in the book where Hinata's like diving to hit the ball before it hits the floor, and his limbs just look like they're crazy stretched out, like Dalsim style, which is really great. One
Yoga
panel that
fire.
I really liked was when Tsukishima is introducing himself, or, like saying his name for the first time, and there's the moon in the background. Like, would have been a gorgeous full page panel, except it's like 1/4 of the page, and Yamaguchi is just crammed into the panel there for some reason as well.
you gotta
with the
remember
stupid
he's
look on his
there.
face. Yeah, it's just like it's classic Haikyu. Just like little bit too much going on. So I'm gonna cheat. Actually, my favorite panel is not technically a panel from the story. It's like the title page for chapter 5. Right, so
I think I know
Kageyama is
which one
always
you're
called
talking about it,
Kotojo no Osama, so he's king of the court. And there's just this great full page illustration of him wearing his volleyball, what do they call it, a volleyball costume?
It's like a jersey or a warm-up jumper.
A sports costume.
What is a uniform?
His
Yeah.
uniform, and then on top of that, he's wearing an actual,
Like
king's
crown,
robe
king's
and a
robe,
crown.
yeah. And he's like not
it's-
looking happy, right?
No, it's
No,
just
he's
it's
not
such a
happy about that at all.
badass full page.
And
So
it-
it shows you that like Furudate can absolutely do badass full page shots when he wants to. But it's just like
Yeah, and
there's not enough of
there's
that.
also a throne that's
Totally, like
Yeah,
on the
and they turned the
ground.
net into the Mario tiling.
yeah.
right.
Super
And
Mario
just
Bros.
the
3.
characterization there, it's great. I love it. The line work, super solid stuff. Would have loved to see a little bit more of that kind of thing. Maybe there's probably a lot more of it in future volumes, but in terms of a first volume,
Yeah, like I have a couple of volumes here, and you can see that things get more.
see, that's more what I'm looking
Yeah,
for.
see,
That's
there's a lot
great.
less panels per page. There's a lot more like large scenes
Yeah, I
where
like
they're
that.
showing action. So I think maybe in the beginning it was just like trying to figure out this mangaka's style, and then the editor was like, "Hey, lighten up on the panels because 9 is too much."
So you got to slow it down.
Yeah.
Captain Brakes.
Just like Hinata, he may not be the most obvious sports hero, but we can see that the potential is there. And I think that's what this first volume is all about. And who would you recommend this to if you had to recommend it to somebody?
Children of all ages, from 1 to 92, especially those who love volleyball, or Kimura Saori Senshu.
What about you, Alex?
Yeah, I was just gonna say people who just like classic Jump style titles,
Totally.
because this is very tropey, like a lot of shonen type tropes and very shonen sports plotline. And there's a lot of different characters to get into. So if you're not even feeling this high school, there's so many high schools to choose from. There's so many other like characters that appear. I don't know if you guys ever read like Eye Shield 21.
Yeah, but that's
Oh, a little
that's
bit.
back in the day. That's like 2005 when the anime was out, so it's got to be even older.
Yeah, sorry, I'm
And
old.
that's
No,
the same
no, that's
mangaka as
okay.
Dr. Stone now, right?
yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, a friend of mine was super into Eye Shield.
Yeah,
back
like
then.
I was into Eye Shield 21 back in the day. So, and I feel like there are a lot of things that kind of remind me of that, maybe just because it was near and dear to my heart. But there's like a lot of, it's less goofy, obviously.
Sure.
But the other high schools like have a lot of characters who are very like distinct. They're not to the level of the Eye Shield characters, but they're distinct. And like I just like that large cast. You get to know them, you hang out with them, you have your tournaments with them. Like I like that. So people who like that, you should definitely. People who like that, you probably have already watched Haikyu anime and read this. So I don't know who I'm talking to, but
Maybe there's
If
some
you're
new
out there.
ones.
yeah.
Yeah. If you haven't, also, I would say if you haven't read Slam Dunk yet, because if you have, you're going to be unfairly comparing this to Slam Dunk every step of the
Yeah.
way. And it's just not fair to anybody. One day we'll talk about
You don't
Slam
have to
Dunk.
compare like every manga you read. Also, I don't know.
No, you're absolutely right. and I should stop doing that.
Each stands on its own merits, unless
Yeah.
you're trying to criticize the text.
Well, thank you, both of you. This has been a lively discussion. I think we've had some good volleys back and forth here.
You were a good tosser.
You're very good.
Thank you. Very kind of you. If you want to get in touch with us, we would love to hear from you. You can email us at mangaroospodcast@gmail.com. You can check us out on some forms of social media at Mangaroos. We're also on YouTube sometimes. So, we're getting it out there. Any parting tosses from either of you?
I don't know. Just read it. It's a good series. Read it.
Yeah, you won't be disappointed. It's money well spent.
All those words on those pages. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Bye.
There's also next week, which we do this on a weekly basis, and we are continuing in our sports cycle. Next week, we're going to be taking a look into a manga that I don't know if it's ever even had an English version. It's called Marathon Man, and it is about a deadbeat dad who must get in shape and reclaim his former marathon glory or lose his son to his...
Oh man, the
to
stakes
his
are high.
estranged wife,
Stakes are high.
who is coming for him. This is going to be intense read. I'm really excited to hear what you both thought about this manga after you've read it, and I hope that you have time to read along and then think about it. Think to yourself while we read it
So
aloud.
it's a Marathon Man.
It's called Marathon Man.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with the Dustin Hoffman movie. Don't worry.
Nothing at all. There's not even a tie-up, although I sense the potential for a collaboration with the beards and whatnot, but we'll discuss that next week.
Missed opportunity. All right. Looking forward to Marathon Man. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Call Mr. Snowball. That's my name. That name again is Mr. Snowball. No, the clap has been replaced by me singing the Mr. Plow theme song. Thank you.